Aloha again, everyone. Good morning. May we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Talbot, would you like to lead us? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mahalo. Today, we have Mr. Ku Ha'o Zane to give the message of aloha. We are honored and humbled to have a Hilo native, cultural practitioner, and renowned designer Ku Ha'o Zane. Ku Ha'o fell in love with art while attending Hilo High School. He pursued his passion for art by studying graphic design at the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, an esteemed art design college in Los Angeles. After graduating in 2003, Ku Ha'o spent the last 2 decades expanding his father's Hilo-based iconic aloha wear business. Today, he is at the helm as the brand's chief operating officer and creative designer at Sig Zane Designs and SZ Kayao. Sig Zane Designs is a globally recognized design brand that spreads a message of aloha through their apparel and creations while perpetuating storytelling traditions through vibrant and innovative graphic designs. In fact, I am wearing a Sig Zane tie today, and I enjoy probably about a dozen or so Sig Zane shirts. My favorite, by the way, is a long sleeve. Grounded in the generational teachings of his grandfather, the late Kumuhula Edith grandmother, the late Kumuhula Edith Kanakaole, the most recent likeness to grace a U.S. quarter. Ku Ha'o is the 6th generation in his family to practice hula. Currently, he serves as president of the nonprofit which carries his grandmother's name, the Edith Kanakaole Foundation. Through their practice of hula and its relationship to the environment, Ku Ha'o and his father, Sig, go even further and help to bring Hawaiian values and generational knowledge to help shape the future and make the Hawaiian thought process and Ike Hawaii mainstream. And I was told that Ku Ha'o has performed at as many as 24 or 25 consecutive Merry Monarch festivals. We're so honored and blessed to have you here today, brother. Please bless us with a message of aloha.
I would like to just update really quickly my new title at Sig Zane Designs, because I just had a son, Naholava, he's 5 months old. Because I just had a son, my dad's new title is babysitter, and then my new title is chief executive. Just a quick update. Anyway, I'm humbled to be able to speak before all of you today. Thank you for the honor. Mahalo. I think with the message of aloha, I think first I have to start with the idea of the definition and the definition of aloha. And the first word that comes to mind, of course, when I think of aloha is shirt. So first of all, thank you to each of you in the crowd that has carried me through college and is going to carry my son through college as well. Mahalo, I applaud each of you. There are many definitions of aloha, and none of them are wrong, unless it's aloha poke in Chicago, then that's a whole different conversation. But that said, because of Nalani Kanakaole, and I bring her definition with me today, aloha is a state of reciprocity with the island. Curious minds might ask, how do you live in reciprocity with the island? Through our generational hula practice of halau kekuhi, our familial inheritance of chants and ancestral texts, documenting volcanic activity, and Tipua Kanakaole Kanehele, alongside my mother, Nalani Kanakaole, has developed a methodology that allows us to extract historical environmental data out of our chants. Okay, that's a lot. If there's one takeaway out of what I just said, chants equal data. The chants are filled with data points of observations, nomenclatures, environmental phenomenon, and land cycles. This documented synchronicity serves as a blueprint of how to live in a state of reciprocity with the island. Okay. In no way am I a government official. I do not have access to the Clean Water and Natural Lands Fund, but I'm far from experienced in the work that you guys do. So I applaud each of you, and I mahalo each of you for your commitment to serve the people. And I would add that when it comes to Oahu, the specific age of this island, it has some of the highest biodiversity in plants and species in the whole island chain. Ohia lehua, one of the famous plants in Hawaii, also one of the major contributors to our aquifer. Oahu has species of Ohia ahi, Ohia papa, only found here. These are like specialized tools to harvest environmental water. Or talk about the soil composition of Lualualei. This soil composition is literally like a signature of agricultural abundance if done right, like Ma'o Farms. And lastly, the last species, Sigzane, a brilliant and ballsy pakegai, groomed by the Ko'olau and raised by Kane'ohe, and lastly, filled with a whole bunch of this definition of aloha. Oahu, you're a beautiful and unique environment, a jewel that is not duplicated anywhere else in the world. And to each of you that are tasked with caring for this jewel, we have an opportunity to reconnect the software to the hardware, the Aina. Reconnect people with Aina and live in a state of reciprocity with our island. Aloha.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. We're so blessed to have the Hewitt family as well as the Zane family coming and blessing us today. And of course, we have our cultural committee here as well today. So we have 30 pages, members, 30 pages today. I'm going to try to keep us moving so that we can get out of here at a decent hour. Before I start, I have some procedural announcements to make. Pursuant to Section 92-3.7 of the Hawaii RISE statutes, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items in the agenda, either in person or the council chamber or remotely. Before testifying, each person shall state their full name and the agenda item they are testifying on. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 3-minute presentation on public hearing and new business items, and a 1-minute presentation on all other items. Registered in-person testifiers will be called first. When your name is called, please proceed to the podium and begin by stating your name and the item you'll be speaking on. And by the way, there's an on-off button and a mute button. When you speak, just simply press the on button. When I call for anyone who has not registered to speak in person, please line up to the right of the podium. And when it is your turn, proceed to the podium. Begin by stating your name and the item you'll be speaking on. All persons who have registered to testify remotely by video conference or phone will then be called. When your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. When I call for anyone else standing by remotely, please utilize the Zoom raise hand button to indicate your desire to speak. The following are some friendly reminders and tips. Video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you are also watching the proceeding on Olelo, please mute your device at the time you are called to testify. When the timer on the screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. For those who are joining us by telephone only, I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When the number is called, press *6, *6 to unmute yourself when prompted. Hawaii Vice Statute Section 92-3.7 requires all votes at remote meetings to be conducted by roll call unless unanimous. Therefore, I will first call for any objections, and if there are any, I will call for a roll call vote. For those council members participating outside of the council chamber, in accordance with HRS Section 92-3.7, the meeting will automatically recess if we lose audio-visual contact with you and cannot reconvene until we reestablish contact. Therefore, please announce beforehand if you will be voluntarily signing out of the meeting. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off all cell phones for the duration of the meeting. I'd like to call the meeting into order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cordero,
Here.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam joining us remotely,
Present.
Councilmember Kia Aina,
Here.
Councilmember Okimoto,
Present.
Councilmember Say, Councilmember Talba,
Here.
Councilmember Tupola,
Ayo.
Councilmember Wire,
Here.
Chair Waters.
Here.
Mr. Chair, 9 members are present.
Thank you. The following members are present, all present with the exception of Councilmember Tyler Dos Santos Tam, who will be participating remotely by video conference. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, in accordance with Section HRS of 92-3.7, please identify any person who is with you at your location.
There's nobody.
Thank you. Also present in the council chamber are legislative branch staff, members of the city administration, media representatives, boards and commission appointees, and a special duty police officer. Floor Leader Cordero, do we have any special guests that you'd like to introduce?
Thank you. I just would like to recognize all the people that you mentioned, and just everyone present in the chambers today and who will be participating in the public process. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Kiaina, motion to approve the minutes.
I move that the minutes of the fourth session be approved.
Councilmember Cordero for the second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there anybody wishing to speak on the minutes? Mr. Clerk, do we have any registered testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have no registered or remote testifiers.
Thank you very much. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing no discussion, any objections or reservations to the approval of our minutes? Noting no objections or reservations, the minutes have been approved. Turning to the top of page 5, we now move to the order of the day. Resolution 23-45, confirming the mayor's appointees to serve on the Oahu Historic Preservation Commission of the City and County of Honolulu. I do note that we have numerous members here, and I'll defer. Is there a mayor's representative? Do any of the commissioners want to say a few words, or Chief of Staff Sam Moku, would you like to just perhaps introduce the members to the council?
Hello, council members. Laura, no, let's see, okay, sorry, we have some of the members on the other side. And I'll have them come up one by one. I wasn't sure who was gonna be here, so why don't we wait till everybody gets into this side of the chamber? Mahealani, you come first. Start off.
Aloha.
Aloha mai kako. I want to thank this council for finally putting into place a commission that should have been appointed in 1992. And long overdue, but finally here, and mahalo to everyone. Our commission has a difficult job, and we hope we will do a good job and be successful in helping Oahu recognize its treasures of antiquity. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Aloha mai kako, uwa o Nanea Lo Ko'ino no Papakale Oahu mai au. Aloha, my name is Nanea Lo, and I just want to say mahalo for being here and having this commission finally come into fruition, and I'm happy to serve.
Thank you.
Aloha mai kākou, o wau no hoi o me hano ka la haint. No palolo o ahu mai au, a ka noho wau ma alia manu I kia manawa. So mahalo, Kevin Say, I grew up in your district, and Radiant, I am now in your district. And mahalo to the leadership here, Chair and Vice Chair, for the wisdom and the courage to make this commission happen. And to bring it to fruition, as Auntie Mahailani said, it's been a long time waiting. I commit myself to serve this beautiful island, like Kuhao said, of ours that we all call home. to the best of my ability and to support all of our fellow commission members in making sure that the Oahu that we grew up in and the Oahu that we want to see in the future is the way it is because of our work. Mahalo. Aloha.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, council members, Velina ke aloha, ke ila o wau o Hailama Farden, wa hanau i au I kia moku o ahu nei no wai anai o ahu mai au e nae ke noho nei au I makiki I kia manawa. I'm a proud resident, a former resident of Waianae for many years. I serve as the kahu of the church established in 1841 there. And I am also happily living with my wife and daughter in Makiki. And I'm very proud of being nominated. Ke mahalo nea kuneo ia oko I ki manawa. I thank you for this time, and I look forward to serving should we be confirmed. Mahalo ia oko a pauloa. Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Kai, and I'm honored to be appointed. Live in Chairman Waters District, graduated from University of Hawaii at Manoa in 2008, and I'm just honored to serve with everyone and learn from everyone. I feel like I'm probably the junior and they're my seniors, so I'm eager to serve and eager to see what I can learn about this public partnership with the state. And so thank you so much for the opportunity. Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you.
Aloha. I'm Richard Davis. I've been living in Mililani for the last 10 years. I've had a long career with cultural resources and historic preservation, working for different government organizations from Department of Defense here on Hawaii, also in Clarksville, Tennessee, the government of Guam. And so experience with a lot of the kinds of issues and conflicts that come up and the rewards of getting it right as many times as possible. I hope to be a useful team member on the commission, and I thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't know we were have to talk, actually. Anyway, in looking at the responsibilities that the council has given to this group, or asked us to take a look at, it's a pretty broad responsibility. And I mean, I'm a practicing architect. Oh, sorry, Glenn Mason. And one of my interests is that we not become a hindrance to the permitting process, to the review process. We all have the same interest. These are really qualified, people that have been proposed for this commission. They're all strong people, and so none of us are going to dominate. We are going to have to talk a lot about what we can do and to preserve our Aina. And so I'm looking forward to that. That's a discussion. I will tell you that I'm very plain that we should not be a hindrance. We should be making everybody's job easier. And that's something that Honolulu has been missing for years. I'm really glad this commission was put together, and I commend the council for doing that. So I look forward to our next steps. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Members, I do want to give each of you an opportunity during the discussion phase of this hearing to speak. But at this point, if you have any questions for any of the proposed nominees, this is the time to do it. Then I'm going to open it up for public testimony, if any, and then discussion. So at this point, members, any questions for any of the nominees? Seeing none, thank you so much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any members of the public registered to testify on Resolution 23-45?
Mr. Chair, we have no registered testifiers.
Thank you so much. Is there anybody who did not register who would like to speak? Ma'am, aloha, welcome. Please make your way to the microphone and you can press the on button. It should illuminate red. There you go. Aloha, welcome. Please
Aloha
proceed.
mai kako. Le aloha raki kalohiva. I have a written testimony before you, but I'd like to just add some comments. I'm the chair of the state Ahamoku. Looking forward to working together with the newly formed commission finally. I'm testifying because of one of my closest friends, Mahialani Cipher, talked about something like this for years. Her and Kihawa Abad wanted to have something like this for years. Mahialani is also the representative for the state of Hawaii's Ahamoku, representing the Ahapua'a of Kaneohe. We represent every 620 Ahapua'a statewide, but we're looking forward to working with the city. It's about time state and city gets together on helping to solve, especially cultural issues, to resolve things. So thank you. I hope you pass this. You got all your nominees are perfect nominees. Mahalo.
Thank you so much. Is there anybody else in the audience that'd like to speak? Aloha, please.
Okay. Aloha, thank you. My name is Leimana Damate. I'm the Executive Director for the Hawaii State Ahamoku. We stand in strong support of the nominees. There are a few that I've worked with over the years on the protection of cultural historic sites. I'd like to give aloha to Hailama Farden, because with the Association of Hawaiian Civic Clubs, he was able to bring a lot of knowledge to the state. Now he will be bringing it to the city and county of Honolulu. I'd also like to say aloha to Mahialani Cipher, who has been working with the Ahamoku for many years, and she was the one that was the person behind putting up all of the Ahupua'a signs around the state that shows where each Ahupua'a on Oahu are. I would like to also say aloha to Mehana, because we have worked with her as well over the years, and she has a lot of, the people have a lot of trust in her. And finally to Kehaulani Abad, who she worked with us and with her father over 20 years in the protection and preservation of historic cultural sites. Thank you. I also give my congratulations to all the other members who have been nominated that we don't yet know, but we're working on it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Is there anybody else who'd like to testify? Oh, aloha. Thank you, Director.
Aloha, Chair Waters and members of the Council, Donna Puna, Director of DPP. I just wanted to say that we are very excited to have these appointees and this commission up and running. It's a great asset for DPP as well as the city. I wanted to thank Sam Moku, Chief of Staff, who was very helpful in this process, and especially Michael Catt, a DPP planner who took the ball and ran with it from, just a few months ago, we were out in the front lawn talking about this commission, and he really did a lot of research and has gone, figured out a lot of steps that needed to be taken, and he will continue to work with the commission to make sure that it's successful and runs well. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Members, we're now in discussion. Councilmember Kia Aina.
Thank you, Chair. Mahalo nui loa to Mayor Blangiardi and his administration for taking quick action on nominating members to join the inaugural Oahu Historic Preservation Commission. The administration's leadership and thoughtful selection of nominees for the commission brings the city closer than ever before to standing up a body of individuals that would help with historic preservation efforts on Oahu. These individuals represent a high caliber of professionals who have dedicated their careers and lives to historic preservation and related efforts and come from different sectors of our community. Their wide range of experience will no doubt be crucial to their efforts in setting the tone for the commission. Mahalo to these nominees for agreeing to take this historic step in the city and county of Honolulu, and to my colleagues, in particular, Chair Waters, for your support and leadership to ensure this commission is finally stood up after over 30 years. I recommend that the members of the Planning and the Economy Committee talk story with a lot of these nominees prior to the hearing on May 4th at 9 a.m. And that would be the Committee on Planning and the Economy. And I look forward to talking story with all of you as well. I will be out of town until May 1st, but I hope to meet with you prior to the hearing on Thursday. And I'm just smiling because we had a beautiful ceremony this morning, of course, honoring practitioners of all that you believe in and we treasure. And so with you having your nomination pass first reading today, it's just the beginning, I think, of a bright future for the residents of Oahu. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Members, anyone else? Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much, Chair. Just brief remarks. I needed to share my gratitude and admiration to two of the members that I've known for a while. Wanted to thank Kumukehawa Abad for being a part of this, as well as Kumuhailama Fardin, and for, of course, his ties to Waianae, but also to both of them for their years of service and education. I do believe that this commission, and I look forward to meeting all the commission members, as Councilmember Kiaina said, we try to make time to meet, talk story, get to know each of you prior to being on the commission, and then of course continue our work with you as you serve on the commission. But it's wonderful to see this because it will tie people, place, and culture together, which we haven't had or seen. So we look forward to this wonderful sewing and weaving together of all of these things that we, as the county, we are so heavily involved in land issues. And this is the main thing that many, many Native Hawaiians and local families struggle with, is their ties to the land and keeping and preserving it. So we look forward to all of the historical institutional knowledge that you're going to share as a commission and further advise our department. So thank you to the mayor's staff as well, Sam Moku, and for the thought that they put into the choices that they put in front of us today. In support and looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? I just want to add that I thank the mayor. Actually, this is the first time this has been done in probably 4 mayors. 4 other mayors did not constitute this commission until now, and are very thoughtful appointees, so thank you. We do have to refer you to the Committee on Planning and the Economy, chaired by Vice Chair Kia Aina, and then back to the council one more time. So we'll have an opportunity to talk story again. But thank you, folks, for your willingness to serve. So Resolution 23-45 has been referred to the Committee on Planning and the Economy. Thank you. Moving to the bottom of page 5, Resolution 23-46, confirming the appointment of Mr. Dennis Morton to serve on the Fire Commission of the City and County of Honolulu. I do want to note, members, that I did get a telephone call from Mr. Morton yesterday afternoon, and he was called away to the mainland for work, and he was unable to attend today's hearing. But this will be referred to the Committee on Public Safety, and we will have an opportunity to speak with him. Mr. Clerk, do we have any registered in-person or remote speakers?
Mr. Chair, we have no registered testifiers.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, is there anybody in the audience who would wish to testify?
Mr. Chair, there are none.
Seeing none, thank you very much. Members, we are in discussion. Noting no discussion, Resolution 23-46 has been referred to the Committee on Public Safety. Now to the top of page 6, Resolution 23-47, confirming the appointment of Ms. Sandra Larson to serve on the Grants and Aid Advisory Commission of the City and County of Honolulu. I do see Ms. Larson here. Aloha and welcome. Would you like to say a few words?
Aloha, Chair and Council members. Sandra Larson. Mahalo for the opportunity. I'm committed and really looking forward to serving. So I'm available for questions if you have any. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for the nominee? Seeing none, thank you so much for being here today. Mr. Clerk, do we have any registered testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have no registered testifiers.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience who'd like to testify today on Resolution 23-47? Seeing none, members, we are in discussion. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you. I just wanted to make brief comment that I appreciate Sandra and her work in the community. I'm looking forward to seeing how that is going to play into this particular commission you're looking to be appointed to. But I have always seen her to be somebody that has been open-minded, somebody that's been willing to converse. And so I look forward to your service and thank you for being a part of this process, as we need many commissions to be filled and we appreciate all voices in the community. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Members, any further discussion? Seeing none, Resolution 23-47 has been referred to the Committee on Budget. Thank you. Resolution 23-48, confirming the appointment of Ms. Debbie Elenecki to serve on the Fire Commission of the City and County of Honolulu. Aloha, Ms. Elenecki. Thank you so much for being here today. Would you like to say a few words?
The red light is on. Good morning. Thank you, Chair Waters, Vice Chair Kia Aina, and honorable council members. My name is Debbie Elenecki. I am seeking a position on the Fire Commission. And I want to first thank the mayor for his confidence and for the council members for your consideration. I was born and raised in Waimanalo, actually born in the home that I was raised in, Breach. So kicking from the beginning. I come from a fairly large family, 4 brothers, 2 sisters. Uniquely, my father, my 4 brothers, and I all served in the Honolulu Fire Department, accumulating 100 years of service collectively. I retired in December of 2018, along with my brother, Peter Akiona. We were the last to retire. It's funny because with a discretionary time on our hands, we found ourselves in Hollywood, waiting to get on the Family Feud with Steve Harvey. And then COVID happened, and the country shut down, and we found our way back home safely. Nonetheless, I was given a call, and I was contracted by the city to return and assist with the city's response to COVID, filling a position on the All Hazards Incident Management team under the direction of Hirotoya, DEM. And we did everything from food distributions to vaccinations, et cetera. Also doing a response, a hybrid response to Hurricane Douglas as well. Today, I volunteer with Kukolu, a nonprofit organization in Kaneohe. We just got our 501(c) back in March of 2022, so very much in our infant stages, progressing well. And it is there where we support and build the socioeconomic status of our indigenous communities. Other than that, I'm a wife, 4 kids, 5 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren, and we'll see. I'm excited for what's next. I look forward to meeting all of you in the upcoming days and weeks ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions for the nominee? Councilmember Kia Aina.
Aloha, Chair. First of all, I am just delighted to have Ms. Elenecki nominated to the Fire Commission. And I know she's very modest, but I want to brag because not only does she hail from Waimanalo, but she was the first female firefighter at the Honolulu Fire Department, and she was the first female battalion fire chief for the Honolulu Fire Department from 2008 to 2018. I know that this confirmation will expire December 31st, 2024. I highly recommend that Mayor Blangiardi and his team submit a resolution to the council in November of 2024 to extend her on the commission. I'm looking forward to meeting with her and having her serve. The fact that she couldn't wait to the hospital to come into this world means that she was ready to go from the time she was born. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Members, any further discussion? I just want to echo those comments. Peter, Ka'u, Akiona is my classmate from Kamehameha, and I remember him telling me at graduation, what you gonna do with your life? He goes, I'm gonna be a firefighter. He knew right from the get-go, and like you said, your whole family, your dad, as a firefighter as well. And I remember walking door to door. I've been to your house. But thank you so much for your willingness to serve.
Mahalo.
We do have to refer this to committee, and then it will come back before the full council. Remember, any follow-up discussion? Seeing none. Resolution 23 dash, oh wait, I have to take public testimony. Mr. Clerk, is there anybody registered to testify?
Mr. Chair, we have no registered testifiers.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to testify on the appointee's nomination? Seeing none, thank you. Resolution 23-48 has been referred to the Committee on Public Safety. Thank you so much. Now to the bottom of page 6, Resolution 23-49, confirming the appointment of Mr. Cameron Hurt to serve on the Grants and Aid Advisory Commission of the City and County of Honolulu. Aloha. Thank you so much for being here.
It's on. Aloha, Chair. Distinguished honorable members, thank you all for having me today. I am beyond elated and just the honor of a lifetime to be considered for this. My name is Cameron Hurt. I came to Hawaii a little while ago, about a decade. As a young man, while here, I have had the unique privilege to be a teacher, to work in nonprofit management, grant writing, and now litigation. Within my first year here, I became an adoptive father to a young boy, and I was a struggling teacher. So there were a lot of needs that I had to seek out in creative ways to raise my son, which drew me into the Grants and Aid Commission. Also, my legal background as a litigation paralegal and handling different grant-based litigation matters, as well as writing for some grants and doing grant reports and nonprofit management, all led me to this moment right here today before you. If confirmed by you, I promise to work in lockstep with the council for the betterment of all peoples on this island. Thank you so much for your consideration.
No, thank you for your willingness to serve. Members, any questions for Mr. Hurt? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, are there any registered testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have no registered testifiers.
Thank you. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to testify? Seeing none, thank you so much. Members, we're in discussion. Noting no discussion, Resolution 23-49 has been referred to the Committee on Budget. Thank you. Now to the top of page 7 from the Committee on Budget, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 73 be adopted and Resolution 23-33 be referred back to the Committee on Budget.
Second.
So the resolution determines the real property tax rates for the City and County of Honolulu for the fiscal year July 1, 2023 to June 30, 2024.
Members, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, do we take testimony on the motion to recommit to committee? Okay, is there anybody who would like to testify on the motion to recommit back to committee? Councilmember, Natalie Iwasa, aloha, welcome.
Is it on now? Yeah. Good morning, Chair, Council members. Natalie Wassa for the record. I'm opposed to the residential A rates. Last month, you folks received a presentation from the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services, and that presentation included an estimate of $301 million in real property taxes from classification Res A. The other residential class brings in about $692 million. So with about 29,800 properties in Res A and just under 250,000 in the total residential category, about 10% of the properties are Res A, and where Res A is paying 30% of the tax. And put it another way, compared to the total number of properties, Res A makes up just under 10%, but pays over 18% of the real property taxes. This is not right. 9,000 properties were added to Res A this last classification period. 9,000. That means 9,000 property owners already are going to see a 29% increase in their real property taxes. Even if their valuations only went up 5%, they're going to see a 29% increase. This is not right. The residential A tax rates are unreasonable, not equitable, and simply not right. And I ask you to at least reduce that first tier rate from $450 to $350 so that there's not so much of an increase in the taxes. In the future, you know, I've asked this many times over the last decade and very little has been done, but I ask you to remove those exemptions that are not equitable. Labor unions, credit unions, for-profit child care centers, business leagues. There's a whole spectrum out there that are in this quote unquote charitable category that are not charitable organizations. So thank you for allowing me to testify, and please amend the rate for Res A.
Thank you so much. Members, do you have any questions for Ms. Iwasa? Seeing none, thank you again. I do note that we have Ted Kafalas also present. Aloha, welcome.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, Council members, Ted Kafalas with Grassroots Institute. I want to echo a lot of what Natalie said earlier about changing the Res A rates. And I do want to also point out, we appreciate a lot of the measures that have been proposed to address the property tax assessment increases. That being said, the simplest form of relief moving forward would just be a simple rate cut. So in our written testimony, we've provided it previously for you all, but we've come up with a couple of scenarios proposing a 10-cent cut to the tax rate, to certain tax rates, as well as a revenue freeze. And we would be happy to work with you all on any other scenarios that you dream up or any other targeted measures that we can assist with. So we also just wanted to highlight, we just released a property tax report that you all should have received. And so if there are any questions or comments, we look forward to hearing those and working through those. So mahalo.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you so much. I do note that I have Chun James also registered to testify. Mr. Clerk, is Chun James available?
Hey, aloha, can you hear me?
We can. Thank you so much.
Great,
Please proceed.
great. I hope everybody's doing well. You have a jam-packed agenda today, 34 pages. Chair Waters, I have a few comments on each, some of the property tax items. Should I just kind of like combine and do it all one time?
Are you referring to the bills on first reading?
Yeah, on the property taxes, all the property taxes.
No, if you can, just confine your comments to Resolution 23-33, please.
Okay, all right. Okay then. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to put some items in parameters. Hawaii has a top median property value of $1 million. Hawaii continues to have one of the highest credit card debts, mortgage debt, but low salary income compared to other states. And the repeated fallacy that Hawaii has one of the cheapest properties tax in the nation cannot be an excuse. Property tax may appear low, but it does not pay for the school taxes, but whether it's state income tax or county taxes, the source of the tax are taken from the same pool of residents. And furthermore, other states may have higher property tax rate, but some states have no income tax, and many states have lower price homes. Hawaii also has a very high home insurance rates, maintenance fees are high, construction, food, gas, and everything that you can dream of. The county property valuations have basic valuation irregularities. Land appreciates in value and improvement depreciates in value. But most of the valuations that we have reviewed show so much inconsistent appraisal valuation. Also, a lot of the valuations do not reflect market values. Obviously, higher valuation benefits the city because it produces more income. So really, it doesn't matter if a property is 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, or 4 million, because that does not automatically mean that it is a luxury home and the owners are rich and affluent. Many of these million-dollar homes are owned by Kama'aina who have lived here for generations. They appear paper rich, but they're cash poor. And also too many Hawaii property owners are burdened by gentrification and they are being forced to move out because of the cost of living. And again, these solutions must be long range. Does the city want to push out the middle class? Does the city want to see the Kama'aina neighborhoods become gentrified to the point of losing the residents who make Hawaii Hawaii? And also landlords who rent long-term tenants should be valued because they are providing a housing service to the city, and developers and other housing receive millions of dollars in grants and incentives. So again, it is important to stabilize. It's important to understand that residents are not monetary, and that all kupuna are affluent. And I just want to say that we want to just keep remembering that the only option is not to raise taxes, fees, and more taxes. The city needs to trim its pork and fat in its budget. Mahalo.
Thank you so much, members. Any questions for Chun James? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, is there any other registered testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public, either remotely or in person, who'd like to testify on the motion to recommit back to budget? Seeing none. Members, we're in discussion. Noting no discussion, any objections or reservations on the motion to recommit back to budget? Seeing none, CR 73 and Resolution 23-33 has been recommitted back to the Budget Committee. Next, turning to the top of page 8, from the Committee on Zoning, Councilmember Say.
Mr. Chair, I move that Committee Report 98 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Say for the explanation.
Basically, it's the recommendation on the board on the review and evaluation of the Building Boards of Appeal pursuant to Ordinance 17-44.
Thank you very much. My notes say that we don't have any registered speakers. Did anybody register late, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Is there anybody in the audience or remotely who'd like to now testify?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you very much. Members, we are in discussion. Noting no discussion, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 98 has been adopted. From the Committee on Parks and Enterprise Services and Culture and the Arts, Councilmember Tolba.
CR 99, recommendation on the review and evaluation of the Board of Parks and Recreation pursuant to Ordinance 17-44.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. You already did the explanation. Yeah. Mr. Clerk, do we have any registered testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have no registered testifiers.
Is there anybody in the audience or remotely who'd like to testify on CR 99? Seeing none. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate the value of the Board of Parks and Recreation and how it has helped numerous parks in my district. And I really look forward to staffing up the Board of Parks and Recreation because it has been a few years now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any further discussion? Seeing none, any objections or reservations? Noting no objections or reservations, CR 99 has been adopted. Moving to the top of page 9 from the Committee on Budget, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 74 be adopted and Bill 31 pass second reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation.
This bill relates to real property taxation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Clerk. Do we have any registered testifiers? I do note that Ted Kafalas has registered to testify from the Grassroots Institute of Hawaii. Aloha, welcome.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, Council members, Ted Kafalis with Grassroots Institute. We support the intent of this bill and feel that the income level of the tax credit really needs to be increased. We also feel that indexing it to AMI is the most efficient method forward. But we do want to note that it might prove difficult to administer, more so than Bill 37 or 38, since DFS would actually need to verify the number of individuals in each household. Regardless, as I mentioned, we still think that the current income level of $60K is far too low, and we appreciate you all considering increasing that level. Mahalo.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to testify on this matter? Natalie Wasa, aloha, welcome.
Oh, Ted's tall. Thank you, Chair Waters. Council members, Natalie Wasa for the record. So I support this with some comments. Basically what this bill does is it would increase the threshold and allow more people to qualify for the real property tax credit, which I support. I think it's been low for a long time now. But if you're going to tie it to the AMI, BFS really needs to do more education. And I say this because after the discussion in the budget, I forget which committee it was, meeting it was, but there was the mention that long-term renters who will provide affordable housing, and it was tied to the 80% AMI. I was not aware of that. And then once I was aware of it, I looked and I'm like, okay, I know where the tables are. What rate are they looking at? What what is the amount of rent that qualifies? So if you're gonna put this in the bill and pass this, you need to make sure that people are educated about the amounts, and it's gonna change every year. I have a concern about Section 3, Number 4, the requirement that any evidence that verifies the number of household members residing at the property during the year is part of the application. And honestly, I've tried to think of how you're going to do that, and short of going to that person's house, I don't think it's very feasible. I mean, you can look at the 1040 and look at their dependents, you'll get an idea. It doesn't necessarily mean that everybody who lives there is a dependent. You could look at DMV records for everybody over 16, but not everybody over 16 these days has a license. That's not going to be accurate. So I ask that that requirement be removed because it is too burdensome. Finally, the process itself, I would ask that the Budget Committee have a hearing, a presentation from BFS on how they go through this application. Because again, this is very complicated. At least it was when I did it for my mother-in-law. She couldn't do it. I mean, you fill in the numbers, you provide the tax return, you provide account transcript, tax transcripts. On top of that, at least at that time, you had to provide, if these applied, W-2s, Schedules B, C, D, E, 1099 SSAs, 1099 divs, 1099 Gs, 1099 interests, 1099 MIS, 1099R. All of those documents, and some of them are not needed if you're just trying to verify the income because it's right there in the tax transcript. So I ask you to look at that process. I think when we make these things so difficult, especially for people who are low income, tend to be older, they don't know how to do this, and they give up. So you're not getting the people that you intend to get. So thank you for allowing me to testify.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for Ms. Wasa? Seeing none, thank you. Mr. Clerk, is there anybody else in the audience or remotely who'd like to testify?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you so much. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam by video conference? Aye. Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Aye. Councilmember Talba?
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 74 has been adopted, and Bill 31, 2022 has passed second reading. By the way, members, just as a reminder, if the resolution creating a permitted interaction group dealing with all these tax bills pass, all of the bills on the agenda today, as well as others, will be put into the permitted interaction group. So we'll have another opportunity to further discuss this. And of course, well, moving on to the bottom of page 9, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 77 be adopted and Bill 61, 2022, pass second reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation.
So Bill 61 relates to real property taxation.
Thank you so much. I believe we have Natalie Wasa and Ted Kafalas registered to testify. Good morning again. Please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Wasa, for the record. So I truly appreciate all the bills that you guys are putting forward and looking at the real property tax system from different angles, different options. I oppose this particular bill. However, what this bill does is it removes the residential classification and the residential A and replaces them with an owner-occupied and a non-owner occupied. And so, you know, basically what you're doing with our real property tax system is you're dividing the residents, you're dividing the locals between those who own a home and those who don't. And I just think that's not good policy. You know, back in, this all started with Mufi Hanneman. And I still remember the time he said on the radio that he wanted to get those investors. Well, hello, they provide rent for us. We wouldn't have homes if we didn't, I mean, a place to live if we didn't have investors investing in homes. So I've always opposed this. Renters have no lobbying group. I'm sure you don't have people knocking down your door saying, hey, watch out for us renters. I mean, you might have a few landlords, but not the renters. And I know you're looking at other options, but this particular one I'm just really concerned about because it continues to keep that separation between the people who own homes and the people who don't. So I ask you to just have one residential class. Make our system simpler. Simple systems are easy to administer, they cost less, and they're easy for people to understand. We only had one residential class prior to 10 years ago. So please consider that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Ted. Oh, wait, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none. Thank you. Next, we have Ted Kafalas. Hello and welcome again.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, Council members, Ted Kafalas with Grassroots Institute. Just echoing what Natalie said, we do have serious concerns about this bill's effects on the rental market because it essentially lumps together rental properties with vacation homes. So assuming these properties are taxed at the same high rates, it's actually going to disincentivize homeowners to open up their properties to the rental market. Creating a new class specifically for long-term rentals would kind of avoid this concern. So if you do move forward with this bill, looking at something like, I believe it's Bill 24 or 27, to move along with it. But that being said, we do believe Bill 25 is the better vehicle because it classifies all long-term rentals as residential regardless of value. So you're able to keep those kind of long-term rentals and incentivize people to actually open up that market. So mahalo for your time and consideration today.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? Seeing none, thank you. We also have Chun James registered to testify. Mr. Clerk, is Ms. James available?
Aloha, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Thank you, thank you. You know, I really appreciate all your efforts in trying to figure this big monster issue out. I agree with most of the comments that have been made. And I'm wondering, when you guys have your PIG session, is it possible for us three and many more to join in just to kind of share? Because usually if you have more input from those who are out there, you know, Natalie's a CPA, I've been in real estate for 30 years and so forth, that we could really help for free share a lot of our experiences and our observations. For this bill, what I want to say is that, of course, the residential A is a problem, but to just clump occupant and non-occupant is not good enough. I just want to say that residential A owners who can show long-term lease for affordable rental should be exempted from the higher residential A rate, because we need to understand and acknowledge that these landlords who are offering the long lease land for our long-term tenants, they are providing a housing service to our residents. They are providing stability to our communities. And for so long, this landlords who are renting to long-term tenants have been cast to the side, because we know that the city provides millions of dollars of taxes and other incentives for developers to create affordable housing. So let's reward the existing landlords who have been providing stable long-term housing service to long-term residents for a very long time. Mahalo.
Thank you so much, members. Any questions for Chun James? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, are there any other registered testifiers?
Mr. Chair, that concludes the registered testifiers.
Thank you so much. Is there anybody in public or in person or on remote willing or wanting to testify?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you so much. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Aye. Councilmember Talba?
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 77 has been adopted and Bill 61, 2022 has passed second reading. Members, moving to the top of page 10, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 78 be adopted and Bill 2 CD1 as amended pass second reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation.
Bill 2 relates to fees for use of municipal golf courses.
Thank you so much. Mr. Clerk, do we have any registered testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have 1 by video conference.
Thank you very much.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and the City Council. Angela Melody Young testifying on behalf of CARES. And for Bill 2, we are in strong support. The golf courses division operates and maintains 6 city and county of Honolulu golf courses. Responsibilities include establishing rules and regulations governing use, developing administrative policies and procedures for operations and management, improving golf services, formulating annual operating and capital improvement budgets, proposing user fees, planning new courses and facility improvements and facility improvements, and overseeing golf course food pro shop and driving range concessions. So the proposed amendment is for 3 fees. 1 is for an additional charge to get an initial golf card, and upon losing it, 2, it's another fee that will be charged for a replacement card. And then 3, there will be an increase for the surcharge from $4 to $8 for people who present qualifying documents instead of a regular golf ID. So CARES is in strong support of generating profit for the golf courses to support the city, because subsidizing the costs with additional fees is reasonable to help support recreation and sports and the city. So thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, are there any additional remote testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Before going to discussion, I do note that this is an administration bill, and we do have Director Jerry Perpilio from the Department of Enterprise Services present. Would you mind just explaining for the public what's happening in this bill and why we're doing this? Thank you so much.
Aloha, Chair Waters, Council members, Jerry Papillo, Department of Enterprise Services. Yeah, the primary is really just there's a lot of basic administrative and supply costs that we want to cover. There's card stock, the printing of that, and personnel resources that process these cards. It should be noted that a $5 fee is only assessed for the initial Gulf identification card, and then a $10 for the replacement. Here to answer any questions if anyone has any further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. Director, in the committee, Deputy Director Kubota mentioned that it's not a vendor, we do it all in-house, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and so this will assist the program, I guess the issuance of these golf carts then?
That's correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Members, any further questions for the Director? Seeing none, thank you so much, Director.
Thank you.
Members, we're in discussion. Noting no discussion, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Aye. Councilmember Talba?
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 78 has been adopted, and Bill 2, CD1, has passed second reading. Now to the bottom of page 10, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 79 be adopted and Bill 7, CD1, as amended, pass second reading. And the bill relates to admission fees for the Honolulu Zoo.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. The bill has been explained. Mr. Clerk, do we have any registered testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have no registered testifiers.
Thank you. Are there any unregistered testifiers, either in person or remotely, who'd like to testify?
Mr. Chair, we have 1 remote testifier.
Okay, I see Angela Chung. Please proceed.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair. Angela Melody Young testifying this time in support of Bill 3. Before I was neutral, I just wanted to provide comments. If there was no backup plan, then how is the enforcement going to move forward and be effective? So actually, I read something from Denver, Colorado. So the same city that Honolulu copied for CORE, about a program called SET. I think I talked about a little bit before. And it's kind of like the idea from Bill 3. It's kind of similar. So SET is from Denver, Colorado. It's called the Street Enforcement Team, and it's the newest pilot program from Denver's Department of Public Safety. It is an alternative response model similar to STAR, and ideally, STAR and SET are supposed to support each other's work to balance the other out. So community complaints have increased about homelessness, and that's why SET was created. It is a direct response to the community's call for innovative action that encompasses both a trauma-informed approach and addresses concerns using well-trained civilians for enforcement measures. So like the civilian enforcement models of park rangers, SET will have the authority to issue tickets or give out citations related to specific low-level city ordinances. And SET team members will, however, not be armed, nor will they have any authority to make arrests. But they will engage, the SET staff will engage with violators and issue a ticket if the individual refuses treatment and support. The SET team has direct access to law enforcement and STAR. So STAR is the medical care mental health team. and SET staff receives robust training, including quarterly presentations on emerging practices in outreach and resource navigation, as well as wellness support. Denver spent approximately $2.5 million to launch SET initially and allocated more than $4 million to expand the program in 2022. And a civil rights lawyer commented, instead of coming from a framework of medical care for people who experience homelessness, this framework is enforcing the law upon homelessness. So in an ideal world where perfect balance can be achieved, this approach of medical care and law enforcement can be a very viable solution to homelessness.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, we also have Director Pupilio present. Would you like to simply explain the bill?
I actually think that's a different bill. The next one on the agenda was Bill 7, which I'm happy to comment on. Thank you, Chair.
No, we're on Bill 7.
Okay. Bill 7 actually relates to our fees at the zoo. We're raising those by $2 for both the Kamaina adult and child. The basis of that is primarily we looked at zoos across the country that fall into the same category as us. We're actually in the lower 10% of fees to get into the zoo. And since the last time that we actually increased zoo admission fees in 2011, 12 years ago, our operating costs have actually gone up over 50%. So I think it's important for us to sort of stay in check. I think it's a very moderate request to do the $2 fee for both adult and child. And also, again, I believe in competitive sets. And so if you look at all the other local attractions as well, that we're very competitive even with these $2 increases. Over the course of this next increase, hopefully in annualized basis, if attendance trends remain similar, it'll be about $500,000, $500,000 towards some of our increased operating expenses. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions? Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. Director Pupillo, I was just wondering, Councilmember Say brought up something about tiering so that the rates for the Honolulu Zoo will be able to increase gradually as opposed to, coming back numerous times to raise the rates. Has there been a discussion about doing such things?
Yeah, happy to do that. I think first step is to do this year's and then look at a longer term approach progressively with how expenses are moving. We're hoping that after the pandemic, and again, this is wishful thinking perhaps, but hopefully some of the inflationary pressures that we've had on our operating expenses will start to normalize. And then I think we implement with that a longer term approach. We did that with golf over the course of X number of years. I don't want to get the cart out in front of the horse and say that we're going to start raising rates at the zoo. First thing is in front of us is the 2 years, the $2 increase for right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Members, any further questions? Councilmember Tupola.
Hi, Director. Thank you for being with us. I guess I just wanted to comment that, your department is one of very few that can generate revenue, right? You have ability to generate revenue actually at almost all of the facilities that you have. And seeing as though you said, even within this short period of time, that there's been this huge 50% increase is a lot in operations.
Sorry, that's over 12 years.
Over 12 years,
Yeah,
50%.
since 2011 is the last time that they actually raised admission prices at the zoo for Kamaina.
So I guess my comment is just to maybe, as the director and for the department to think into how you guys can be able to generate some revenues every year to try to sustain yourselves, because I do think that it's a great amenity for the families and it's one of the nicer things that we offer as far as city facilities. And I do think that people do use it for concerts, they rent it out, but there could be something annually that the city puts on to make sure that you guys have enough revenue to maintain and upkeep this so that there doesn't have to be continual raising of rates.
Yeah, wholeheartedly concur and certainly have a list of ideas and open to many more. So we'll start to implement and execute on those. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Any further questions for the director? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Members, we're in discussion. No discussion. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Aye. Councilmember Talbot? Aye. Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 79 has been adopted and Bill 7, CD1 has passed second reading. Now to the top of page 11. Before we start, I did meet with Director Kawano. I'm asking to keep this bill alive, put it into the permitted interaction group, although I am working with the director to try to find a compromise to solve this very important problem. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. Thank you for that premise. I move that Committee Report 80 be adopted and Bill 9 pass second reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero for the explanation.
Sorry, but it relates to real property taxation.
Thank you so much. Mr. Clerk, we do have, I believe, Natalie Iwasa present and registered to testify. Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa, for the record. With all due respect to the chair, I absolutely oppose this bill. From the Budget Discussion Committee and the Budget Committee, I understand that this is to assist kupuna who inadvertently were put into the residential A classification, and this typically happens with older adults who are, living under the old premise that one spouse is responsible for the financial activities of the home, and then that spouse dies and the other one is left without having the homeowner exemption. So I guess when I first heard that, I thought, well, okay, so is the intent then just to assist kupuna, or is it also for, this could happen to somebody else, right? 30s, 40s, whatever. And if that's the case, and you're giving the discretion to the director of BFS, is he going to treat those two different groups the same? If somebody comes to them, 40-year-old, and they say, you know what, my spouse died, I'm not on the title, I didn't know, is the BFS director going to say, oh yeah, we have a tax compromise, we'll go ahead and do it? Or is he going to say, you know what, you should have known, I'm sorry, that's it? So BFS director should not have that discretion. And I've been bringing up concerns about this split in the residential A classification for over 10 years. And that was one of my concerns. When Res A first came out, I don't know if any of you are aware, there was a resolution to do a blanket compromise because there were, if I recall correctly, the first time was over 700 people who didn't know about it. And so they gave them compromises. Second year, there were still a whole bunch of people who didn't know, hundreds. And I don't think that one went through. And here we are, 10 years later, and we're still talking about people who haven't filed for the homeowner occupancy exemption, even though they're eligible. Something is wrong out there. And so you understand what's going on. You see this problem out there that we have the kupuna who are not staying in the residential class and are getting this huge real property tax increase, and you're putting a Band-Aid on it. The real problem here is that we have residential A class and that rate is outrageously high, that we have that classification, and now it started out at around 7,200 properties. It's now at almost 30,000 properties. It really needs to be eliminated. The other part of this is that people are not being held accountable for their own lack of action. So I don't own a property. I wish I did, I don't, but my client sent me one of the recent assessment notices. And I'm almost done, I'm sorry, just one more point. And I looked at that assessment to see what kind of information is in there, because BFS should be educating our homeowners about this exemption and what can happen if you don't have it. There's nothing in there that says if you don't file for this homeowner exemption and you lose it, you're going to go into Res A. There's nothing in that notice. So we are not educating people the way we should. And I'm not surprised because the city gets more revenue that way. But anyway, thank you for allowing me to go over my time limit.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, are there any additional remote or in-person testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you so much. Members, we're in discussion. Noting no discussion, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Kiaina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimura?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Aye. Councilmember Talbot?
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Thank you, members. CR 80 has been adopted and Bill 9 has passed second reading. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. I move that Committee Report 66 be adopted. Can we go back? Sorry, Chair. I think you need a vote.
Oh, aye.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next, I move that Committee Report 66 be adopted and Bill 10 pass second reading. The bill relates to the legislative budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2023 to June 30, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Cordero, you did the explanation. Mr. Clerk, do we have any registered testifiers? Natalie Wassa, I believe, is registered.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa, for the record. Just a short comment. So as I understand it, the council member salaries in the bill currently are at 4%. I think that's low, given that the salary hasn't been increased, I think, for 4 years. But the salary increase that's being considered by the Salary Commission currently is just, it's not reasonable. And, their committee meeting is April 25th. I will be submitting testimony to that. But,
Just to be clear, the salary adjustments are not in Bill 10.
No, I understand that. But
If you could confine your comments to Bill 10.
okay, so the salaries that are in there are at 4%. And I would think 6% would be more reasonable, but any higher than that I would be opposed to. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions for the testifier? Councilmember Cordero.
Ms. Iwasa, thank you. I just want to get clarification. The salaries for staff is what you're talking about?
No, okay, maybe, aren't your salaries in Bill 10?
No.
The 4% is for staff.
Staff.
Okay, well then, I guess there was a miscommunication, I apologize. When I asked for clarification on that from a staff member, then there was a misunderstanding, so I apologize for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, members. Any further questions for the testifier? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, are there any additional remote or in-person testifiers on Bill 10?
Yes, we have one remote testifier.
Angela Chung?
Two, Ms. James.
Oh, June James is registered. Yes, please, Ms. James. I'm sorry. Please proceed.
Sorry, Ms. James is not responding. We have one other person indicating they want to testify by video conference.
Aloha. Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support of the budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, are there any other additional remote or in-person testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you very much. Members, we're in discussion. Councilmember Tolba.
Just a quick question. Where would these raises come from?
Basically, what we tried to do was pattern the raises for our staff next to what was collectively bargained for the rest of the city employees to match what the other city employees got.
And do we know what the financial impact that would be? Just for the record.
I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but it should be in the bill.
Okay.
Yeah, and by the way, members, we do have another opportunity to discuss this in the Budget Committee and amend the bill as deemed necessary before it comes back to the council for third reading.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Aye. Councilmember Talba? Aye. Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 66 has been adopted and Bill 10 has passed second reading. Now to the top of page 12, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 67 be adopted and Bill 11 CD1 as amended pass second reading. This bill is the Executive Operating Budget and Program for the fiscal year July 1, 2023 to June 30, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I believe we have Natalie Iwasa present to testify.
Thank you, Natalie Wassa, for the record. So I have several points I'm going to go over. First of all, on page 44, there's a proviso that states that the city vehicle fleet be transitioned to 100% electrical by or renewable energy by 2025. And I'm just wondering if there's some kind of plan out there that HECO has or that the city has about our electrical consumption, because already we're looking at like places like Kaka'ako where they have to put in additional facilities for electricity to make sure that we have enough power for new homes. I feel like we're putting all eggs in one basket, so I'm just a little concerned about that. I oppose the I think it's 1.5 million removal for Haiku stairs. We just learned in the paper the other day that Sand Island Treatment Center is paying rent to the city of $20,000. I know Councilmember Tam is on it with respect to that, but you know, when we're spending millions of dollars trying to help our homeless, and then we're charging an organization, 501c3 by the way, $20,000 a month to do just what we need, it just doesn't seem to be handling things the right way. I wanted to point out on page 39 that there's an amendment adding 16 positions and 1.3 million for the extended lifeguard services. This bill was passed in 2019. It was supposed to be implemented in 2021, and I think now you're finally doing it, or the city's doing it. But back in 2019, when the discussion came up, the cost was estimated at $660,000. So we're looking at a 106% increase in 5 years. I mean, you know, I don't know what to say. It's just really expensive when we put these new programs in. You're cutting $22.4 million of salaries and expenses from roadway maintenance, and we hear often about potholes and people complaining about the roads, so I'm not sure that that's a smart move. I also wanted to mention one of the things that the city does is the street maintenance with the sweepers, and there was a pilot project that was put in place about 4 years ago for the storm drains. It's a mechanical gate that is supposed to keep the debris out, but it's pressure sensitive so that it comes back when the water comes through. And I totally supported that when it came out because I thought it was a great idea. But as it turns out, now the city has to send people out there. The street sweepers don't remove the debris in front of the gates, and so we have people going out there sweeping up on the road. So that's not efficient. I ask you to look at that. 2 more things. There's $1 million added for tree planting by DPR, which is great. I totally support it. But when this tree canopy issue came up under former mayor, one of the first projects they did was Alawai Golf Course, and for tree canopy, they put in coconut palm trees. I don't know, you know, that's not what the intent was. And I support the increase to the Stability Fund. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, are there any other registered testifiers? Bill 11.
Mr. Chair, we have 1 testifier indicating they want to testify remotely.
Remotely? Okay, please proceed.
Yeah, I love these cards. Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and the City Council. Angela Melody Young testifying on behalf of CARES in strong support of the operating budget. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Members, any other testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you so much. I did want to give Director Kawano an opportunity to address the council on the administration's budget, if you so desire, Mr. Kawano.
Good morning, Chair Waters. Thank you for the opportunity. Vice Chair Kiaina, honorable council members. Thank you for allowing BFS and the administration to share some comments. We, about a week or so ago, provided our responses to CD1, and I want to thank all of you for allowing us to do that. We put a lot of thought into our transmittal, and we got good feedback from the department. So if you have any questions or if you need clarifications, please feel free to call Carrie Castle, myself, and we'll work with our team to respond back to you ASAP. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for Director Kawano? Seeing none, thank you so much. We did get your responses, and they are very thoughtful, and we would definitely be taking a deep dive into that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion, members? Councilmember Kiaina.
Chair, I wanted to talk briefly about the Honolulu Youth Commission and commend them for actively engaging in the city council process. I'm sure all of you have received their amended budget proposal of $10,000 for computer supplies, volunteer food, educational, recreational, craft supplies, rentals for events, and other expenses like youth commission shirts and membership and registration fees. I intend on offering an amendment during the next budget hearing to include the requested proposal as this budget moves forward in the process. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I do want to note that the Youth Commission met last night, and they did pass a resolution requesting us to consider putting in money for their budget. Members, any further comments on Bill 11? Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. I would like to first off thank all the members of the council and all their staff and everyone for their consideration of this fiscal year's budget, and also after the first round of amendments, being able to consider meeting with the rest of the agencies that you have either questions or issues with, and I'm looking forward to everyone's amendments, timely amendments submission when it does come around, and also the discussion for our second round of amendments as well. So keep this as your reminder. This is your reminder to submit those amendments on time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Tupolo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In support, I want to thank the Budget Chair for accepting some of the amendments that I submitted. Super grateful for the amendment for the prosecutor's office, specifically weed and seed and community court. These are very important to my community and address concerns brought up in regards to homelessness and public safety. They've proven successful, and their funding will help to solve these important problems. And I wanted to make mention that, the cutting of the positions in the housing office was for us to kind of take a deeper look at it. In 2010, the electorate did have it on their ballot if they would like a housing department. Then in 2011, former Mufi Hadaman put it into a housing office that was policy instead of the department that I do believe that all of Oahu had voted for. So I think we need to just be mindful. I am going to meet with new director, Denise, who's part of the head of housing, and see how we can be more efficient in the ways that we approach this, and looking forward to possibly working with the administration to propose a reorg after the budget cycle so that we can get all of our eggs in a row so that everything that we need for housing is in order. But I would mention that DCS, for me and still till today, is the department that actually can execute the majority of this, because they have our HUD funding, they have our CGBD grants, they have the federal programs that we need for these housing, and so I do believe it's best suited in there. So looking forward to more discussion on this important issue for all of us, including the mayor's administration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. Just for discussion, since outside of this venue, we're bound by sunshine, I just wanted to note that I'll be focusing our analysis in light of, budget chair's guidance with the amended version of the budget we're working with. Our analysis will be focused on the departments that fall under our committee's jurisdiction and looking at what type of funding needs to be restored and where potential adjustments can be made. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion, members? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Kiaina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba?
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola?
Aye.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 ayes.
Thank you. CR 67 has been adopted and Bill 11, CD1 has passed second reading. Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 68 be adopted and Bill 12 CD1 as amended pass second reading. This bill relates to the Executive Capital Budget and Program for the fiscal year July 1, 2023 to June 30, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Kawano, would you like to address the council first before I call on testifiers? Thank you.
Council Chair Waters, thank you again for allowing to make a few comments with respect to Bill 12 for the Mayor's CIP budget for fiscal year 2024. I want to thank council members for the opportunity to allow us to provide comments on CD1. For this one, I specifically asked that the full amount of the affordable housing appropriation of $100 million with flexible terms for mixed use, mixed income developments be put back in. And we also would like to stress that the $2 million appropriations for regional planning and design work, working with the state of Hawaii and major developers on Oahu with regard to selected TOD locations be restored as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for Director Kawano? Councilmember Cordero.
Director Kawano, I have a question relating to what DDC Director Haku Millis was just discussing in the past CD1 about a certain amount of capital improvement projects that DDC is able to do within this, at least within this one fiscal year, regardless of us doing a 2-year capital improvement project budget. And that number again, I think, is it 300 million? What was that number?
I am not aware of the number he provided. Perhaps we should ask him to, respond to your question.
Okay, thank you. And I was just looking at it because in that meeting, if I think about that number and if it's 300 million and we look at the projects that we have to do just on our city properties, there doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't leave room very much for any actual district CIPs. So that was going to be my question, but I do think that we can have that further discussion when we have our special committee draft 2 hearing.
Yeah, the one thing that I'm aware of that I want to comment on is that a lot of, well, almost all of the affordable housing projects are large projects. So you're not going to have as many contracts that are going to be required to support the $100 million appropriation. And if Director Millis did come up with $300 million, I think the summation of our general and highway fund CIP proposal is right about at that amount, about $300 million as proposed by the mayor. So it's fairly close.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize if I didn't hear this. Did you talk about the affordable housing? You mentioned it now, but did you mention that earlier?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with regard to the $100 million appropriation that's tied to affordable housing.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, do you have an announcement?
Yeah, Chair, after we vote on this item, I'll be stepping away from the camera for a few minutes. after this vote, but I'll be back for the following vote. But I make this announcement so that the interactive conference technology requirements aren't interrupted and the meeting can proceed.
Thank you so much. Are there any further questions for Director Kawano? Seeing none, thank you, Director. I do note that Natalie Wasa has registered to testify on Bill 12. Aloha, please proceed.
Thank you, Natalie Wasa, for the record. So a street pole across the street from where I live fell over about 10 days ago, and it blew over. And it blew over because the bottom was rusted out. And so I think these street lights on this road are maybe 45 years old. I bring this up because the bases in some of the other ones have cracks. And, you know, if the wind can just blow over a pole, that's a significant concern. I think we were fortunate that no vehicles were hit, nobody was hit. The pole was live. HPD came out until HECO could remove it. But I bring it up because I know there's a job 2007-43 that is $1.8 million to handle streetlight meter cabinets, transformers, and street lighting improvements. But I don't think it covers these old streetlight systems, and these are not cheap. You know, when they did Lunalila Home Road down by the fire station, it was several $1 million. And of course, they did some trenching and stuff too. But I asked that you take a look at that because I'm sure there are other neighborhoods with really old streetlight poles, and obviously we don't want them falling down on people and people getting hurt. I oppose the Sandy Beach parking lot expansion, $303,000 on page 32. And on 35, we're spending $87.3 million on new buses and handy vans. And again, I request Transportation Director to have a discussion about the cameras on these buses because they record people's front homes. They record the yard, they record if they have the garage door open, it records that. They keep these recordings on the bus for 30 days. Who has access to them? What is the security? What is the protocol for looking at them? You know, the public, people who live on these roads that are being recorded should know that their homes are being recorded by the city. So thank you very much, Chair, Council members.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for Ms. Iwasa? Seeing none, I do note that we also have Levani Lipton as a registered testifier on this matter. Mr. Clerk, is Levani Lipton present and ready to testify?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you so much. Please proceed.
Okay. Aloha, Chair Waters, Vice Chair Kia Aina, and council members. I'm Levani Lipton, testifying in support of Bill 12 CD1 with the amendment made by our council member, Esther Kia Aina, to appropriate $2 million for best management practices for stormwater drainage in the Kaelepulu Pond vicinity and watershed. I currently serve as the chair of the Addressing Pollution of Kailua Waterways and Beaches Subcommittee of the Kailua Neighborhood Board, but I am testifying on behalf of myself. Water quality is something that is very important to me as a paddler and as a resident and as an advocate for our families and our community. I wanted to just make a couple of notes. I know that, you know, I'm sure everyone's been to Kailua Beach and Kalama Beach. They are dearly loved. And this is very, very important to us because all our waterways are connected, and we are blessed that we have several watersheds in our community and the largest wetland in the state, known as Kawainui. But the water ultimately flows out to Kailua Bay. And so most storm drains that enter into Kaelepulu Pond deposit pollution, like sediment and nutrients, plastics, which alter the ecosystem for native birds, many of which reside at Kaelepulu wetland. And so the effects of pollution are compounded over time, and that is why we have to act with urgency. And what would these funds mean for Kailua? Well, what would it mean for Kailua and all that enjoy Kailua Bay? It would mean the construction of a detention basin and berm in the Kaopa Silt Basin in Keolu Hills. That would serve to hold back a lot of the debris from entering the hardened channels, right near the skateboard park in Keolu that flow directly into Kaelepulu Pond. It means installing channel trash racks to Hele Channel, Keolu Line Channel, and Alahiki Ditch. It means floating trash screens in the channel above the Lanikai Bridge. It means installing the remaining 590 screens on the remaining curb inlets around Ka'elepulu Pond and installing curb inlet baskets to catch debris. And so I urge you strongly to accept this appropriation, and thank you for your consideration. And thank you to our council member for proposing this. And we really hope to keep our waterways clean and free of pollution. And we have to stop pollution before it enters. We have to stop it at its inception. And so thank you so much for allowing me to testify.
Thank you. Members, any questions for Ms. Lipton? Seeing none, thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, are there any additional remote or in-person testifiers on Bill 12?
Yes, we have Ms. Angela Young.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support of the Bill 12 for the capital budget. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any additional testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, I believe we also have Ms. Chun James.
Thank you so much. Ms. Chun James, please proceed.
Aloha. I just wanted to make a few comments real quickly, broad comments. Seriously, I think that Natalie Iwasa CPA is the only private citizen who have read through all the paperwork with all the capital and also legislative bills. And we appreciate her for sharing her talent and her expertise. I just want to briefly say that the vote now is about affordable housing and more affordable housing, and hundreds and millions of dollars are pumped into this affordable housing. And certainly we know that affordable housing is really needed. But I think we have to come to a point now where we need to step back and analyze how affordable is affordable and who really are the affordable housing for. Because in any countries and in any states or city, there is no reasonable way that any state or city can meet all the housing needs of everyone. So I think it's imperative that as these projects go forward, as hundreds and millions of dollars are plunged into this so-called affordable housing, we need to draw a line of demarcation and ask ourselves with each project, who will qualify for this affordable housing? Is it helping the local people first? Is it helping the residents first? Or is it such a way that anybody who comes here and get a job here can have access to affordable housing, or anybody who flies into Oahu can have affordable housing opportunity? So those are questions I believe that it needs to be seriously considered. And also, again, I feel that we need to look at all the budget bills carefully so that we can cut out the pork and we can cut out the fat, so that every penny of the state treasury, of the city treasury, is well spent and for good purposes. Mahalo.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for Chun James? Seeing none, I believe we're in discussion, members. Noting no discussion, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Kia Aina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba?
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola?
Excused.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 ayes, 1 member is absent.
Thank you. CR 68 has been adopted, and Bill 12, CD1 has passed second reading. Now to the top of page 13, noting that Councilmember Dos Santos Tam has signed out. Councilmember Cordero.
I move that Committee Report 69 be adopted and Bill 13 pass second reading. This bill authorizes the issuance and sale of general obligation bonds and bond anticipation notes of the City and County of Honolulu in a maximum principal amount equal to the aggregate of the amounts appropriated in the capital budget ordinance of said City and County for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2024, and specified in said ordinance to be financed from the proceeds of the sale of such bonds and to be expended from the General Improvement Bond Fund, the Highway Improvement Bond Fund, Solid Waste Improvement Bond Fund, or the Housing Development Special Fund.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I believe we have Director Kawano. Would you like to address Bill 13 before I go to testifiers?
Council Chair Waters, thank you for allowing me to make a few comments about Bill 13. I just want to assure council members that we sincerely appreciate your consideration of this bill to issue general obligation bonds to fund our capital projects. And I also want you to understand that we will only borrow what we need. We can go up to the maximum per what's appropriated in a budget, but we will borrow only what we need going forward. It's like balancing a checkbook, if you will.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for Director Kawano? Seeing none, next I'll turn to registered testifiers. We have Natalie Wasa, followed by Ted Kafalas. Natalie Wasa motioned to me that she will not be testifying. Ted Kafalas? Aloha and welcome again.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, Council members. Just to clarify, this is on Bill 14.
Yes. 13. Sorry. 13.
I'm looking to testify on Bill 14.
Okay. Is there any other registered testifiers, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Okay. Are there any other additional remote unregistered testifiers?
Mr. Chair, there are none.
Thank you very much. Members, we're in discussion. Noting none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero? Jeez. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam?
Aye.
Councilmember Kiaina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Aye. Councilmember Talba?
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola? Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 7 ayes, 2 members are absent.
Thank you. CR 69 has been adopted and Bill 13 has passed second reading. Councilmember Wire.
Chair, I move that CR 70 Bill 14 be adopted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, Councilmember Wire, for the explanation.
Yes, Chair, relating to one-time real property tax credit.
Thank you so much. Director Kawano is not present. Let's move on to registered testifiers. Natalie Wasa and Ted Kafalas.
Thank you, Natalie Wasa, for the record. On April 11th, there was an article in the Star Advertiser about Bill 40 and the homeowners exemptions, and our budget director was quoted. He was saying, although he didn't oppose the increases to the exact exemptions, he preferred across-the-board increases, and I would prefer if it's equitable to all taxpayers. So when I read that, I immediately thought about this credit, because if you're going to give it to one group of residential properties, you should give it to all residential owners. So that's my comment on this. I know you're looking at another bill, and I'm not sure where this is all going to end up, but I just support having it go to all the residential owners. Oh, one more thing. Since there are 29,800 properties in the Res A, approximately, that would be about an $8.9 million reduction in the real property taxes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Ms. Iwasa? Seeing none, thank you so much. Ted Kafalas.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, Council members, Ted Kafalas with Grassroots Institute. We do think this is a good bill, and we appreciate this measure along with bills 26 and 31 to provide effective short-term relief to our local residents. That being said, we do think that this bill could go a little further. We've talked about this before, but a $380 credit for all qualified homeowners would essentially zero out the higher assessments and proposed rates that the residential property class is facing this year. So mahalo for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, any questions for Mr. Kafalas? Seeing none, thank you so much. I also note that Chun James has registered to testify on Bill 14.
Yes, aloha. Any efforts to help our local residents is a good thing, but I just wanted to again stress in context that sometimes there is the impression that people who own $1 million home are rich and they're affluent and they have good income. And again, I just want to clarify that in Oahu, you can have a shack and it can be worth $1 million, it can be worth $2 million, it can be worth $3 million. My personal take on this is that it would be easier to just lower the residential rate rather than providing $300 to a certain group of people, because not only the people with low valuation are hurting, everyone is hurting. I hear it all day long that, even people who are priced up in the 2 million, 3 millions, many of them are still recovering from COVID. Their businesses have gone under, they're trying to stay afloat. And then wham comes the city with such a huge valuation in property taxes. So it's just one more stress on our local residents. And again, I appreciate all the efforts that have been put out in all this long string of bills on property taxes. And I don't know if it's appropriate, but when you guys have your peak session, I think that at least 3 of us will be interested in joining you guys and sharing our experiences and our ideas. And hopefully, if that is possible, I think that would always make the end result product better. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for Chun James? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, are there any additional remote or in-person testifiers in Bill 14?
Mr. Chair, we have none.
Thank you so much. We're in discussion. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. Question for Director Kawano.
Yeah, Andy Kawano, Director of Budget and Fiscal Services.
Thank you. I know that there has been discussion regarding the $300, and I know that the administration has provided their reasoning behind $300, and I know that there's discussion between either lowering the amount, increasing it, and has BFS looked at the different options of a lower rate and a higher rate as well?
So when you say rate, you mean
rate, I'm sorry,
dollars,
credit,
right?
excuse me,
The dollars, because it's a
Yes.
credit. Okay, so we, just to recap really fast, we wanted to do something right away. So the mayor was getting a lot of feedback from the public in general, the entire island about the high assessments, and wanted to do something, if we were able to balance the budget, with it. And we were able to, at $300 for homeowners. The other objective was to help protect homeowners so they don't lose their homes, if they're having very difficult times. So that's why the homeowners that have the homeowner exemptions were selected as a base. Lastly, he wanted to move quickly, and so the administration met, BFS, Treasury met with the vendor to ensure that if we use information already in the system, so based on the FY23 assessment, appeal information settled appeals that we can put in the system. Would the system allow us to provide a credit that can be effective July 1st, 2023? And the answer is yes, for all of those things. And we wanted to move quickly, so that's why we took this approach. So part of it was protecting homeowners. The other part was equitable, uniform, and the final was, efficient and accurate and, timely. We wanted to make sure we can get something done right away. And, going forward for FY24 on, we look forward to discussion in the permitted interaction group that you're setting up to decide on what we're going to do with all of the bills, 20 and more bills that we have in front of us.
Okay, thank you. And back to the mention of any higher or less dollar amount. Of course, any higher, we would have to consider which agencies to take from to make a higher amount, and vice versa, right?
I don't think we identified which agencies to take from. We the way we did it is all of the agencies turned in their budget requests. We reviewed everything above a ceiling that BFS provides, and we asked the agencies to justify their budget request. And based on our revenue estimate, most of which is real property tax, we looked at what was available. And what was available was very close to $45 million. And for every, as you know, for every $100 in credit, it's about $15 million in real property tax reduction. So that's how we got to that number. It was sort of calculated based on our needs for the operating budget to get to a balanced budget.
Okay, thank you. And Director, you mentioned that each department submitted their budget, and you say you don't know exactly which department the $45 million was pulled from.
There was no tally sheet, so we did not say, oh, we got 10 million from HPD, we got 500,000 from BF. We didn't do that. It was what made sense for each agency to fund its operations. So salaries, current expenses, any operating equipment needed to provide services that we're asked to do, and that's the focus. If we didn't have any to spend for the credit, we wouldn't have proposed one, and we would have communicated to the public, explain why immediate relief wouldn't be able to be provided. Fortunately, we can provide it at this time. We also keep in mind, I keep bringing this up, next year we have commitments, liabilities that will increase for various things, collective bargaining settlement, so increases in salary-related fringes. We're going to expand, as we've discussed, ocean safety. We're going to be in rail operations, so we'll figure out what the true cost is. We're basing the budget on estimates right now, based on operations outside of our state, and we're really focused on ensuring that we have a balanced budget, going forward, especially in the near-term years that go outside of FY24.
Thank you. Thank you, Director. Thank you, Chair.
So much. Is there any other questions from the members for Director Kawano? I just had a quick question. So for each $100 of tax credit, it costs approximately $15 million, correct?
Yes.
Okay, if we were to do what the Grassroots Institute suggested and increase the tax credit to $380, that's approximately anywhere from another $10 to $15 million, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and if we were to do what Naliwasa suggests and give $300 across the board to every single taxpayer, how much would that cost?
It would, so there's about 150,000 exemptions, homeowner exemptions, rounded. There's about 120,000 more of everything else. So you get close to nearly doubling that $45 million. It's not quite there, but you're going to be doubling up. So that's even if it's $30 or $35 million more. That's a lot of money to take from budgets across the agencies. That wouldn't be good.
Okay, thank you so much. Members, any follow-up questions? Seeing none, we're still in discussion, members. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Kiaina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Say?
Excused.
Councilmember Talbot?
Aye.
Councilmember Tupola?
Excused.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 7 ayes, 2 members are absent.
Thank you. CR 70 has been adopted and Bill 14 has passed second reading. Members, I propose that we go through the rest of the budget bills that are on page 14 and then perhaps take a brief lunch break. Is that okay with you folks?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Top of page 14, Councilmember Cordero.
I move that committee, I move that committee report 71 be adopted and Bill 16 CD1 as amended pass second reading. And this bill relates to the Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation operating budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2023 to June 30, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I note that Director Kaikina is present. Would you like to say a few words in support of Bill 16 CD1 or against?
Good afternoon, Chair, Council members. For the record, Lori Kahikina, CEO and Executive Director of HART. I actually just want to show my appreciation to you folks, to this body, for being very patient with us and for reinstating some of the proposed changes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions for Director Kahikina? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Clerk, do we have any registered testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have no registered testifiers, 1 person indicating that they want to testify remotely.
Okay, I believe that's Angela Chung.
Aloha. Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support. The Honolulu Authority, the HART is a semi-autonomous public transit authority responsible for the project's planning, design, and construction for an 18.9-mile automated fixed guideway rail system with 19 stations extending from East Kapolei Station to a temporary terminus at the Civic Station. HART is governed by the HART Board of Directors and the Chief Executive Officer. The board consists of 10 voting members appointed by the revised charter, with 4 members appointed by the Hawaii State Legislature. They include local officials, business leaders, subject matter specialists, and advocates. HART's management, organization, and capability to plan, construct, and deliver the project to the city has required a lot of dedicated work from the team and the staff. Additionally, the execution of contracts, labor agreements, and the use of other instruments to performance duties are necessary for the development of the system. HART plans to deliver a safe and reliable rail transit system to the city, and I personally am really looking forward to July. So CARES testifies in strong support of the operating budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions? Seeing none, we're in discussion. Noting no discussion, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam by video conference?
Aye.
Councilmember Kiaina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talbot? Councilmember Tupola?
Excuse.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 ayes, 1 member is absent.
Thank you. CR 71 has been adopted and Bill 16 CD1 has passed second reading. Councilmember Cordero.
I move that committee report 72 be adopted and Bill 17 CD1 as amended pass second reading. Bill 17 relates to the Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation capital budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2023 to June 30, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. May I call first on Director Kaikina in regard to Bill 17 CD1.
Good afternoon, Lori Kahikina, CEO and Executive Director of HART. Thank you, Chair and Council members. We really do need this funding to help award the last biggest contract, our city center guideway and station contract, in order to get that first tranche of release of funds from FTA. So really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions for Director Kahikina? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, do we have any registered testifiers?
Mr. Chair, we have no registered testifiers, one remote testifier standing by.
Thank you. I believe we have Angela Young. Please proceed.
Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES. So the HART capital budget, as part of the Federal Transit Administration FTA accepted recovery plan, HART and the City and County of Honolulu have amended the scope of the project to reduce the federally funded original full funding grant agreement, the FFGA, scope by postponing the last 1.25 miles of guideway, the final 2 stations, Kakako and Ala Moana, and the Pearl Highlands parking garage. The revised description will be 18.9 miles and 19 stations. And HART is working with the FTA on an amended document proposed in the recovery plan for environmental clearances, an extension from the civic station to Ala Moana, and a parking facility will be completed in a separate project phase. HART's newly accepted recovery plan will allow HART to update the project progress based on the revised scope and schedule, included in the recovery plan. And we're in strong support, of course, of the HART director and then all the people that's been working, on the project. And we can't wait to see it transform the city. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I believe Director Kahikina, Councilmember Tyler Dos Santos Tam does have 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
Please proceed, Director.
Two questions. The first question is, after the $125 million identified in this bill, how much is left to be expected in FFGA money? That's the first question. And then the second question is, I see that there's amendment here for improvements to the Waipahu Transit Center Station Makai entrance. And I understand that, the guideway and stations all the way out there were completed years ago. And so why were these improvements not done in the original construction of the Kamehameha stations and guideway?
Okay, thank you, council members. So your first question is, there's $744 million still outstanding from the FTA. So they gave 2 milestones. The 125 is for the first tranche when the full funding grant agreement is amended. The second tranche is when we award the CCGS contract. And then the remaining, they haven't given specific milestones before they release the remaining funds. To your question about the Waipahu Transit, the previous HART administration value engineered out the Makai entrance because they were trying to save funds, but this council board and even previous, and spearheading it was council member Brandon Elefante. When you look at that station, we really do need access on the Makai side for the community. That is a major highway that they need to cross, so we are committed to putting it in. I testified before, there's $14 million slated for that contract, but we need every penny right now for CCGS, so there may be a delay, and we may have to come back and reappropriate that $14 million for the Waipahu Transit, but we are fully committed to putting that back in.
Okay, and then as a follow-up, are there other items that were value engineered out that you think are necessary? And I agree this is probably necessary. And the reason why I ask is we should know about these things sooner rather than later, so we can anticipate them and make sure that's communicated to the public. But I appreciate your efforts to make sure that this necessary thing gets put back.
Yes, council member. One other one that we've talked about, and DTS is actually spearheading this. There is a overhead pedestrian walkway at the Pearl Highlands station that needs to be put in. We're putting in a temporary, working with HDOT and DTS so that we can open up the first segments. We're putting in a temporary at-grade pedestrian crossing. It's not the best situation, but that was something that was also value engineered out that needs to be put back in. But I believe DTS is working on that, trying to get a federal grant to do that.
Thank you so much. Members, any follow-up questions for the director? Councilmember Wire.
Just quickly, Chair, I just wanted to say again, mahalo, Director, for your comments just now and recognizing that in the scale of this project, right, the two things you brought up specifically, the pedestrian walkway and then the Makai entrance really are, I think, matters of equity and ensuring that, all communities benefit, you know, and I know that a lot of commitments were made. And so just want to say mahalo for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Council Member.
Thank you. Members, any further questions for the director? Seeing none, thank you. I do believe we also have Chun James who wishes to testify. Please proceed.
Aloha. You know my stance. We have been questioning the rail project for many years, and it's not because we don't love rail. I come from Singapore. We love rapid systems. But again, I have so many concerns. And two, every time there is an article about the rail, the social media burns up and is always in a negative. And yet we see that no one is here expressing their values or their concerns or their opinions. And obviously we think that it's because a lot of people are working 2 to 3 jobs trying to put food on the table. But some of my main concerns, again, is that the budgeting, right? And it's the operations and maintenance. I know it's going to be transferred to the city department. But the Porter report, if any of you want to read it and have not read it yet, the Porter report came out in 2012 that the city is not able to meet the expenses of its core services in addition to the real expenses. And so that's a good report to read. And concerning operations and maintenance, nothing has been said. But in Singapore, when night comes, the whole system is shut down. You have a whole brand new industry of people in the night that come to service and maintain those rail, the engineers, the electricians, the cleaners, on, and nothing has been said about that. But I am sure that is going to be a huge expense that we have not really even discuss about it yet. And then also, obviously, we all know that the route from Middle Street to Ala Moana is in the Honolulu sea level rise inundation zone. We are not talking about that either, even though we're talking big about climate change and coastal zone and all those things. So I hope I'm wrong, but I think there are a lot of very important information that has been cast aside and put aside that really should be part of this huge project, the biggest project in the history of Hawaii. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Members, we're in discussion. Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Cordero?
Aye.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam by video conference? Councilmember Kiaina?
Aye.
Councilmember Okimoto?
Aye.
Councilmember Say? Councilmember Talba? Councilmember Tupola?
Excused.
Councilmember Wire?
Aye.
Chair Waters?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 ayes, 1 member is absent.
Thank you. CR 72 has been adopted, and Bill 17, CD1, has passed second reading. Members, we are on the top of page 15. Shall we take our break for lunch? I propose a half an hour, but I'm open to longer if necessary.
Or 1:15?
1:15, a little over half hour. Okay, 1:15, members. Let's be back at 1:15 and see if we can wrap it up by 2 o'clock. Thank you, members. We're in recess.